exploring that concept a little bit. Broadly speaking, if this theme continues, speaking of Peterson, broadly speaking, he loves to say that.
Broadly speaking, you know what?
Yeah. And then rescue your father, etc. Which is fantastic conceptualization. I love all his mythical analysis. Man, that's right up my alley. That's good stuff.
You think you can just kill Tiamat without putting the work in? Well, you got another thing coming, Bucko, because let me tell you something about Tiamat. She's scary as hell.
Yeah. Well, and more than that, she's not dead until you transform her to order. If there's no order, if there's no transformation into order, if there's no work done, it remains Tiamat, the Dragon of Chaos. You have to transform chaos into order.
You gotta kill the chaos,
yep.
But you can't just kill all of it.
The chaos.
There's some good in chaos, so
true.
you gotta rip out her womb.
Right, and save it in a jar for later.
You gotta cut open and you gotta perform a C-section on the corpse.
And it's very interesting that, I love these old myths too, because the idea of chaos, order is made of chaos. You have to, chaos is almost the default. It's an entropy in some ways. And you have to
there's some myths where chaos comes from the order, where order is the default. And in real life, the theist atheist split, which is why you're agnostic, is you go, well, chaos is the thing, and we're here because order arrived. Where a Christian would say order is the default and chaos is a disgusting aberration.
Gotcha.
Or maybe a necessary aberration of the order.
And then there's actually me, which so I was half done, and I think you're right. No, that's a fantastic observation. That's absolutely correct. I look at it as cyclical, is that they are two halves to the same whole that cannot exist without.
Me too.
And that they're actually neither one came first necessarily, which is interesting because if you go in the Christian mythology, as I would put it, all was without form and void, and then God said, let there be light. He brought order to the chaos. So but then God preexisted the chaos, or it was the absence of order is chaos, in the way that darkness is the absence of light in that sense.
In my mythology, I tried to write a creation myth of my own, but it's not, I did write it. It's trying to figure out the wording, but the idea is
exploring the idea. Sure.
God's sister or wife, or maybe sister wife, at the same time, they exist. They're just eternal concepts, order and chaos. But in order for things to exist, there can't be chaos at the same level as order. So God has to create something and kill chaos, who wants to destroy everything.
Yeah. Well, the excess of one or the other is death. Is
and there's a death. There's a death there too. There's three things. There's order, chaos, and neutrality, which is death. Death is the ultimate neutrality.
Yeah, and then the balance too of the need for both is, and I think the human body is a great example of this. You need muscles and flexibility. You can't be a rigid structure locked in place where you can't move. You can't go out and acquire resources to keep you alive. Then again, you have to have bones that form a rigid structure the muscles can pull against. You have to have dedicated organs that perform a specific function, not just any function, a specific, but you have to have a stomach that processes food that you go out and acquire. So you need this blending of order and chaos that is, I think, exemplified in the physical body.
And your bones specifically, you need calcium and carbon, because if there's too much of one, too much carbon, too brittle, too much calcium, too flexible, or maybe the other way. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Under chaos, nothing has any shape. It is nothing. It can be nothing. It is nothingness itself. In some ways, it's just everything all at once, everywhere. Okay.
Great movie.
And right, I do want to see that, but I haven't yet. So no spoilers. La. On the order side, complete absolute order is rigidity. Nothing moves. Nothing changes. It is everything locked in just a frozen stasis forever. Also, no different than complete chaos. These poles cannot. It always has to be a blending of the two, in my estimation. And that's something just on this subject, that's how I conceive the left-right divide. Is that, broadly speaking, the left worships the new, change, chaos. And that's what we need. Chaos is the capacity for improvement in its expressed best sense. The right, broadly speaking, I think worships order, and it is the necessary structure and stability of bones in an organism that you can't do without. You cannot have a complete lack of structure. You can't have a complete lack of ability to change. So we've got to have this tension, broadly speaking. And I know some people disagree. Oh, well, left, right has to do with monarchy and socialism and all that stuff. I'm like, I think those are all downstream from broadly chaos worship and order worship. I think it's all a religious war. This is what I've come to recently. I don't know if you have thoughts on that. It's a complete tangent, but
I think that's totally true. I think that, well, you gotta have both, because if you stay still, you're not gonna run off a cliff, but the bear might catch up to you, and running off a cliff and getting eaten by a bear are kind of the same thing. But Absolutely. If you run too fast, the bear ain't gonna catch you, but you might just fall off a cliff you don't see. And let me tell you, bucko, there are more cliffs than you think in this world. There's a hell of a lot.
There are. Absolutely. Yeah.
And there are bear traps.
And I think that's what comes down to a lot of these mythological and religious structures is, what's a bear? How does it work? Where does it live? Where are the cliffs? And we're trying to explain to ourselves, what does it look like, feel like? What's the experience of being human? And how do we navigate that in the best possible way? I consider the Bible, from my agnostic atheist perspective, one of many examples of people trying to say, pass down common frameworks, conceptualizations of cyclical human patterns. Here's things you're likely to experience, kind of a best practice guide.